Okay, so for the next steps for your tapestry weaving, so we've already woven 3 to 4 rows of one color, 3 to 4 rows of another color to make your horizontal stripe. So I have a pink stripe, I have a red stripe. I probably should have done another pink horizontal stripe. So that's by just weaving the same color 3 or 4 rows at a time. So after you get your horizontal stripes, you're going to weave these vertical stripes. And these vertical stripes are woven by weaving a single row of one color and a single row of another. So since I have written in here, I want pink and red to be my stripes. When I pull this apart, you can see that it's made up of a single row of pink, a single row of red, single row of pink, single row of red. So you can only do this with 2 colors, alternating weaving one row and then alternating and weaving another row of your opposite color or your other color. So when you pack these down, it creates these vertical stripes as opposed to horizontal stripes. So you see these warp threads are further apart on mine with the red warp, and then with the black warp, they're closer together. Yours will look more like this because your warp is a little closer together. So, but it's the same system that the way you weave these stripes. So I have in here on my plan sheet that I go up to this line with pink and red, and that's pink and red. You're going to use the same yarn as much as you can. So it doesn't matter if it's coming from the back. So if I now need to weave red, which I do, I'm going to take my tapestry needle off. I'm going to get one that's coming, a red string that's coming from the back. It's woven in, coming from another row. And this, since this is going to be inside out, you won't see where they kind of overlap and you won't see any of your ends. So you remember you kind of fold it in half, push it through the eye of the needle. And then I'm just going to weave this one time all the way around. I'm going to do the opposite of what's going on the pink. So I'm going to go over and under the opposite of the row underneath. So I'm going to weave this, pull it, pack it down, and turn it over. I'm not going to worry about all of this stuff because that will be on the inside when I take it off. So I'm going to go over, under, over, under. I'm just doing the opposite of what the pink row is doing. Pull it through, pack it down. Now this red piece is pretty short, so I'll probably start a new one and I'll just leave that hanging. Now I need pink because remember I'm doing a single row. So I'm going to take one of these. So here's a longer one. I'm going to trim off that raggedy part. You're going to fold it, smash it through the eye of the needle, and then you're going to weave that opposite of what the red one is doing. I know it's hard to see because I have red warp, so I'm going to make sure that I weave opposite of the row underneath. Weave that across. I'm going to pull it through. So I don't need to get a whole nother piece. I'll just use the ends that are still there. Turn it over, get these out of the way, and then doing the same thing. So this is over, so I'm going to go under. And what you're basically doing is you're going over and under the same strings with the same color, so that makes it show up as a vertical stripe. Okay, so say, and I've reached my little line here. So now I've got my horizontal stripes, I've got my vertical stripes. And so now I'm going to start doing my background, and then I'll do my shape. So you're going to do your background color. And on this one, I have pink written as the background. And I'm going to weave that a few times around until I get to the very bottom of my heart. So I can still use this pink that I have. If I ran out, if I used all that up, I'd get another piece. But now I'm just going to weave this, probably maybe 3 rows. Weave that across, pack it down, come over here, weave the opposite of the row underneath. Weave it across, pack it down, come back. Okay, this will go all the way across. I'm going to weave it all the way across. And I need the same amount on the back. So when I get this one through, so I ran out there. So now I am going to get another piece. Now you guys will already have yours pre-cut. Do I? No. So I'm going to get my new piece, fold it in half, smash that folded part through the eye of the needle, pull that through best you can. Okay, so I got that threaded. So since I left off here, I'm going to start as if that was a continuous piece. I'm going to weave all the way around. So remember, it depends on how much space you have under your shape. And all these tails, you just need to leave at least like an inch or so. So I'm just going to leave that. Then I'm going to weave. So I have maybe 3 or 4 rows. I want some space under the heart because actually I've got a whole bunch up there. So say this is, say this fills up all the space that's under your shape. So, okay. So if I wanted to start my heart, now this is totally different because you are going to be weaving your shape on its own independently. And then you're going to be weaving and hooking the sides, this pink color or whatever your color is, into that shape, going all the way around the back, weaving, 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 coming in, hooking into the other side of the shape, weaving back, 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 all the way around the back, and then coming in and hooking into the other side. So you would weave your background color all the way up to the bottom of your shape. Then you would weave your shape. The shape for everybody, it's going to be different because you guys all chose different kinds of shapes. So, and you will have already pre-cut your colors. But if I'm doing white, I'm going to thread that into my tapestry needles, fold it in half, smash that through the eye of the needle. And I'm going to start at the bottom. And if I want to be in the middle, I'm going to just kind of count in to what my middle thread is. So this is going to be a point. So I'm going to start on this thread. So anybody doing a heart, you're going to probably start the same way. Now this time I am going to tie this to itself because you're going to be interlocking into this yarn and you don't want it coming out. So I'm going to tie it. I'm even going to double knot tie it. Okay, so now I want to make the point of the heart. So I'm going to wrap this 3 times. So I'm just going around this one string 3 times. So if your shape has a point at the bottom, that's what you're going to do. Now your looms, you have more warp threads, which is better. So your shape is going to work a little bit better because you can, you have more, you can kind of do more detail. So now I'm going to weave between, if I want this shape to gradually come out this way, I'm going to weave between these and put a few rows. Then I'm going to weave more rows, come out a warp thread on each side. I'm going to come out one on this. You just, for it to be symmetrical, you want to do the same amount of rows. So I've got 3 here, and let's see what 3 rows between these do. When you're weaving your shape, you cannot pull it like this, because you see how your warp thread pulls all in. So you want it just to stay exactly where it is. I'm going to go back. And like I said, I want to see what 3 rows looks like. So here's 1. This is 2. So 1, 2, 3. And the way you can tell what it's going to look like is you have to squish it down. So I think I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger. So I'll do, no, I only have 2 rows on here because I'm looking at these loops. 1, 2, 1, and this is going to be 2. So I'll do, so maybe 3 actually would work. Let's see. Okay, there's 3. Okay, I'm going to stick with 3 and see how that goes. So when I go back, that's going to put a 3rd loop on this string. So I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then this will be 3. So now I'm going to go out a string, and I'm going to put 3 between the next sets of warp. And notice I'm not pulling it all in because I don't want my shape to be like this. So I can pack it down to see what it looks like, but I can't pull it over. Every time I weave back and forth, I'm still making sure I do the opposite of the row underneath. So when I come back, I have to make sure that I go under this string over this one, because I still have to always do the opposite. Even if it's a little tiny area, you're still doing the opposite. So I'm going to weave my shape. I'm going to do a set of 3 to make that gradually come out. So far I have 1, 2. This will make 3. Now I'm going to come out 1 more. So this could also be like if you were making a diamond, you would do the same thing, and then you would come back. You'd weave the top by doing the opposite. You would put 3 rows going in. But every time you do this, you're making sure, yes, I'm doing the opposite of the row underneath. If you're doing a circle, you're going to kind of eyeball it, but you will do probably like 2 rows and then go out a string, 2 rows, go out a string. So here's the bottom of my heart shape. I'm going to pull this out so that it's not pulling my warp strings in. And okay, so I came out a couple more strings. I put 3 rows on each. So each time I put 3 rows, 3 rows, 3 rows. I look at how many loops I have on each sets of strings. And if you do the same amount on each side every time, it's going to automatically create a symmetrical design. Okay, so a heart is going to be a little more complicated because we're going to have to make like this little half circle and this little half circle on its own. So now that I have this, now I have to work on these areas. I have to make sure I do the opposite of the row underneath. And this, whatever I do on this side, I just have to make sure I do it over there. So I'm going to do one side at a time and just try to create this heart shape. So I think I'm going to go, let's see, I'll go back over. And so I'm going to decide, all right, I'm going to come in to this string. Luckily, your looms have a little bit closer warp strings than this. So this is going to look real kind of angular. So I think I'm going to do, so I got 2 there. I'm going to do 2 on this one. And then, let's see, no, maybe I'll do 3. But this is going to be the part where you're just going to have to figure out like what's the best way to make it look like this shape. So I think I'm gonna, let's see, I'm still gonna put here. I have to start bringing it in on the middle. So you're just kind of watching me. There's not obviously like a set way to do it. You just have to kind of figure it out as you go. So now I'm going to start coming in. So I actually put 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to come in on these guys. Actually, I'm not even going to go all the way over, and I'm going to go between these two now. Okay, so I'm going to do, I think, where I have 2 rows here. Whatever I do over here, I'm going to do the same thing over here. With these, you are going to tie it. So I think I'm going to end it there. So I am going to tie this to itself. And that is because when we weave the background, we have to come up and interlock into this. So for a design like this, because I know some of you have hearts, in your designs, you are going to mimic this over here. And actually, you're going to interlock into this too. So I'll just show you part of this so you can, so you'll know what I'm talking about. So you smash your yarn through the eye of the needle. You're going to start. So what I do is I just push this up so I can follow the same pattern that I did over here. So actually I can show you how you're going to interlock. I'm going to start on this string because that's where this one started. So I can tie it on that. Oops. I'm going to tie. Oh my God. I'm going to tie it on that. Okay, now I'm going to weave. I got to do the opposite of that. I'm going to weave over to this. Anytime you interlock, what I'm saying is you go up and through that edge, that loop on the edge. So I'm going to interlock. I'm going to go up and through this. I'm going to then weave back. So I'm going to do under, over, under, over. I'm going to put the same amount of rows that are over here. So I'm going to come over. I think I'm only going to interlock that one because now I want it separate. Wait, right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. No, I am going to have to interlock. Okay, so this little heart is going to need adjusting. I'm realizing now. And that's how yours will be also. I'm going to end up taking this out, but I want to show you how to interlock. Because this heart is going to look real silly. Because this shouldn't have come out that far, and I need space in here. So anyway, I want to put a shape on here so that I can show you how to do the interlocking. So I'm just going to weave a little bit more and show you my ridiculous looking heart here. Go up and through this one. And maybe I'll just say this is a different shape than a heart. Who knows? Okay, go over here. I'm going to go up and through this one. And then let's see. Yeah, this is going to be real silly looking. Okay, then I come here. Now I'm going to do my 2 rows between the 2. And I'm doing this upside down because you are, I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm doing it upside down so that you guys can see. Okay, so if I do the exact same thing that I did on the other one, I'm going to end here and I'm going to tie it. And regardless of how silly my shape looks, it's a symmetrical shape and it gives me places to interlock. So I'm going to tie it. Ooh, yeah, this is a real funny looking heart. I needed more space here. This one looks so much better. So it didn't come out as far. Okay, regardless. So imagine that this heart looked good. And I will, I'll try to make another video to show you that. But I want to show you how to interlock. So however you do your shape, then to do your background color, if like on this one, the background color is pink, you're going to weave the sides and the back all at the same time. So it's like you're coloring in. So we're going to fill in the background. We have to do it from the bottom up and we have to go all the way around when we do it. So you're going to weave not only the sides, but then you're going to weave back and fill in the back. So I threaded my needle. I'm going to weave over to my design, do the opposite of this row. So I go over and under the opposite and push my shape up. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that knot. I just imagine that's a little loop on the warp thread. So you're going to go up and through. I am really struggling. Okay, so up and through that knot. And then I'm going to pull that through. Not going to yank on that. Now I go back. So I do the opposite of what I wove. I'm going to go all the way around the back of the loom. I'm not going to pull on that because I don't want my shape all, even though it's messed up. Okay, I'm going to weave all the way around the back. So I'm going to come back here. I do the opposite of what this row is doing. Then when I come back to the front, I'm going to hook into the other side. So here I am. And I'm going to weave over, making sure I'm doing the opposite of all these because the row underneath is the opposite. So I'm making sure I go under this one because that one was over. Okay, I weave over, over, over. I'm going to go into the next little loop. So I'm over this one. I'm going to go up and through this loop. All right. Then I'm going to go back. So that's when it's just a single loop. Okay, so I went through all the single ones. I wove back. I came back. Now I'm into one of those little side edges. So the little loop right here on one of my rows. I'm going to go up and through that. And I also want to show you, even though my yarn is running out, I'm going to pull that through. And now I am going to tie a new piece to this because you need that to be attached. So it's not like the other ones where you just leave it hanging. When you're making your shape or you're interlocking into it, you do need to tie your strings together because they're kind of pulling on the others. So you're going to thread your new piece, and then I'm going to actually tie the end to this end. So when you're weaving your shape, when you're interlocking, you do need to tie those. All these knots and these ends will be on the outside. So I went up and through. I went up and through that little loop. Now I'm going to go back that way and I'm going to fill in my background. When I fill that in, I'm going to go all the way around the back. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to weave the opposite of this row beneath it. So I'm going to make sure I go over, under, over, under. Pack it down. Okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the other side of my shape. I'm going to weave over to it. And the next little loop I see is right here. So that's the one I'm going to go up and through. So I'm going to weave over to it, doing the opposite of the row underneath. Go over to it. And then I'm going to go up and through that loop. So I'm like filling it in, not pulling on it, and then I weave back. And I'm going to go all the way around the back. So when this is squished down, it's going to be just like coloring in the sides. And I might actually do some, I might pull on some of it and not pull on others and see if I can actually make this look like a heart. So there's really no like set rules. You can use that kind of thing as an advantage, to your advantage. Okay, so I did the opposite here. I come around. You always have to fill in the back after you do the sides when you're doing a pouch. Okay, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to look for my next, I squished it down, my next little loop on the side. You can't skip any because you'll have a hole. So here's my next one. I'm going to go under and through that. And then I'm going to go back in the other direction because I'm filling in this side. So then I go back. Only thing is I'm going to take this out because I was supposed to go under this first. Okay, so I'm going to go up and through that loop. Then I'm going to go back, making sure I'm doing the opposite of the row underneath. So I'm going to go over this one, under that one. And I'm going to weave back. Okay, so I've hooked into those sides. I'm going to just keep going where I go up and through the side, pull it through, weave back. I'm going to go do the opposite of this side. I'm going to pull on that a little bit. I am pulling on it to make my shape look better. Weaving all the way around the back. Coming in on the other side, I find my little loop on the other side. So I go up and through here. This is where I tied one to another piece. I'm going to go back, doing the opposite of that row underneath.